Hey guys and girls, Bored Now back with you. On this video I will be talking about episode 1 of the new HBOMax post-apocalyptic drama series, and that is of course The Last of Us. So episode 1 is called When You're Alone in the Darkness. Full spoilers from the start of this review. So big premiere for HBO Max. It's based on the popular video games, and it's from the writer of Chernobyl. It's also co-created, produced alongside the creator of the original game, so that's exciting to have him on board. And the setup for the main story of this first season is then it's set 20 years after a deadly sort of virus, and the remaining survivors in this town are all under military rule. There are like a rebel group called the Fireflies who are trying to fight back. So you have a character, Joel, played by Pedro Pascal, who, spoiler, lost his daughter at the start of the pandemic 20 years previous. So it picks up with his life. And he has been separated from his, I think it's his cousin. It's either his cousin or his brother, who we see in the previous time frame, played by Diego Luna. It's been 3 weeks since he's heard from him, so Joel is worried and wants to go and find him. He knows roughly where he should be at this radio tower. So he's now living with a girl called Tess, played by Anna Turvey, who was in Fringe and was really great in Fringe, so it's good to see her in this. Very unrecognisable in this, very different appearance and role at the moment it looks like, but they're living together, so they both decide to go and find his cousin, his brother, whichever one it was. So they set off, but they need to get a battery, and also a truck so that they can do it. And there's this guy they know, Robert, who's got said battery, said truck, so they need to find him. And later on they find out that he's actually dead now. He got the virus, so no luck there. But they bump into the Fireflies and also this girl, Ellie, who's being held captive by the Fireflies, and it's because they have bigger plans for her. They see her as like a future sort of prodigy, but they plan on going to the same place, basically the same radio tower. So they sort of strike a deal where if Joel and Tess take Ellie to this location, then they'll give him the battery, the truck, all that sort of thing. There's some hard negotiation, but that's going to be the setup for the main story, which is put into motion at the end of this episode. Then these two characters, these two adults, have to escort Ellie across the border, past the military and to this place. So that's where you're really going to get the setup of the action and tension, but there's plenty of that in this episode. So just to say what I thought about it, I thought this was excellent. I remember commenting on how good the trailer was, I think when I did my preview video for shows coming this year, just being, because I'm a casual, I've never played the game, I don't know that much about the game, so I am coming from this from a casual point and just judging it as a TV show on its own. But when I saw that trailer, one way or the other, it did have me hooked, and I was into it. I was into what it was trying to do, and it looked promising. And sometimes you just get a really good trailer and then the actual thing isn't that good, and it happens vice versa. You get a really weak trailer which hasn't always done the show justice, but in this case it's a great example of how to do a trailer to really get people invested and interested in watching the show, and the promotion for the show has been very good, I think, as well. So, and this just delivers. I mean, this delivers on all fronts. The acting, the characters, we get to know the characters. The characters are very interesting to watch, really engaging. They're flawed but very interesting characters. The acting is very good pretty much down the line. I can't really pick out a bad performance. It's very well directed, it's very stylistic and has a real distinct mood to it. And yeah, there's just a lot of meaty things going on in the plot and a lot of intrigue. And this is only episode 1. Probably the best thing I can say about this is then it does take its time in getting to know the characters, and that's something I really appreciated. But at the same time, it doesn't take too much time. It's not too slow. It sort of feels like it's about the right pace, considering it's a first episode. But it just hits you with a bullet from the off, really. From the very first scene, I was just really into it and wanted to learn more about this world. So they've got, with it being a HBO show, they've got the right money behind it, the right production values. The direction is really good, really some great wide shots, some great close-ups, some very tense scenes. There's some scenes that are full on horror, a couple in particular, but this has it all, and just based on this one episode, if it can continue this sort of standard, it definitely has the potential to be show of the year. So I'll just go through some of the scenes. Obviously, I'm not going to talk about every scene, but the opening scene is a good example of what I'm talking about, just setting up the world, because the first part of the episode is the setup of leading into the pandemic and the main story. But we actually start on a talk show, and we have this expert played by John Hannah, an expert on viruses, and they're just discussing viruses in general. He's an expert on all sorts of he talks about fungi. He has a really funny term, which is fungi, which is really funny, but he starts talking about insect viruses and different viruses, and it's just a really well shot scene, and it's good because it sort of makes you, the audience, think of viruses and the impact of them and how they work and stuff, and that's just a good intro into this story, this world. But first of all, great cameo, great casting having John Hannah there. He's just his charming, charismatic, funny self, where he just has a way with words and a way with delivery that just makes you laugh. But it's funny that it's such a funny scene, and he is so fun. I'm saying funny a lot, but he is so funny in it. But at the same time, you still believe he is this nerdy expert type thing. It just fits him so well. And also the style of it, because this is 1968 and it looks like 1968. They've got the 60s aesthetic as well. They've got the feel of a talk show, this very intimate talk show, lots of close-ups, and the way everyone's dressed. It just feels really intimate, and as I said, just has the 60s feel. So that is a good sort of intro. But then post-credit, post-opening credits, when you have so we're introduced to Joel, to his brother, whose name I'm Tommy, and also Joel's daughter Sarah, and she's played by Nico Parker. And maybe if there's one shame about this first episode, it's the fact that she's only in this one episode. Now, it's possible we might see more of her in flashbacks. I could see them doing some flashbacks as we go on, because that definitely would make sense with his character to do that. But she does die in this episode, which I'm going to get to. So maybe if I have one small, it might be that, but that's just the way the story goes, because she was excellent. Again, Nico Parker, the actress, she was very good, really natural. And just like from the opening scene with them at breakfast and the banter back and forth, it just felt like a proper, realistic, like natural family sort of vibe. And like father and daughter, they have really interesting character dynamics and a really interesting relationship. First of all, like Sarah's this really bright, curious, like young girl. Like that feels very natural. Like you just feel then she's really like street smarts and got her smarts about her. But not too much, not so much then you would think, well, is this really a real like teenage girl type thing, preteen, however old she's meant to be. But it really impresses you how she has maturity ahead of her years, and there's a little bit of a sense of her maybe actually carrying like the father a bit, like she's in some ways the person who looks after things in the house. But they have a really funny but also adorable relationship where they don't feel so much like father and daughter. They feel more like almost like drinking buddies, and it's a bit weird to say that, but I did get that vibe a little bit of them. And there's just that sense of like back and forth, and he's very sort of shrubby but in an endearing way, actually, like the sort of guy that you do want to root for. But there's some good natural banter and some good humour. Like this episode does have nicely placed moments of humour, because that's something you need in a post-apocalyptic story, because there's always the danger in this sort of thing where it's going to become too bogged down, it's going to become a little too depressing all the time. But this actually doesn't do that. There's a few what I would say are actually laugh out loud type moments, but moments that are not forced, like moments that feel like they come from the characters and they're true from the characters. There's a couple of moments from Ellie, actually, Bella Ramsey's character, who is a very feisty, like in your face sort of character. So there's a couple of good like laugh out moments involving her, because she has a really real sort of attitude. But just on Sarah, yeah, what they do in the first part of the episode is that it really follows her around a lot, and you're seeing this world through her eyes, and that's a really good thing to do, because it gives you the sense of someone her age just experiencing this and just experiencing the day. How it starts off as, because like her father has a birthday, so she's like getting a gift for him. So it just starts off as like any other day almost, but then just slowly deteriorates into something else once the virus starts striking. And one thing they do, which has been commented on by other people, but is then they do sort of take some of the techniques of the game and they use it for this show in this episode. So they do take, for example, like the first person perspective, and this is what this stuff with Sarah really feels like, where you do sort of follow her around and you sort of see things through her eyes and from her point of view. And one good example of that is when things have really kicked off later and she's in the back of the car and they're driving around and it's all frantic because there's all these other people like getting in their way. The military have been sent out. It's all chaos. And the point of view shot is from her position in the back of the car, and you just follow it around. It never really breaks till we like go to the next sort of thing, but that was really good. That was really effective, and there's something just like appropriate about taking everything from her point of view during the day and just seeing how things change. And there's some really great direction in this, because at one point Sarah goes to to like a store, like to it's to fix something. I think it's to fix her father's watch. And this is where she first gets the sense that there's something not quite right in the town. And that's when the guy is fixing the watch. He's pretty much finished, and like his wife, I'm assuming, who also co-runs the store, she comes in and insists that she needs to leave. That being Sarah. Sarah's got to go now, and the other guy, the guy is like, but I'm pretty much finished, and it's like, I'm finished. And it's like, no, you haven't. She's got to go now. And it's that kind of thing where you get the sense of urgency, or you get... I think what tends to happen with this kind of thing, then there is like a tension in the air before the actual event strikes type thing. And that's what we're starting to get in this small remote town. So when Sarah leaves the store, there is like a long shot of it, like a very isolated type shot, and that just sums up the mood and the isolation of the town and some of the tension in the air. So all this is really effective stuff, and it takes the right amount of time in getting to know the characters and their dynamic. And then once the stuff starts going down, I said before, there's some like real horror style moments in this, and yeah, the horror scenes are really tense and they're really effective. So the scene where Sarah basically finds out what's happening, and she goes to the old couple's house, and she literally sees like the woman of the couple like feeding on her husband, and he's been affected. And then she, as Sarah like freaks out and runs outside, you see like the woman crawling after her. Another nice touch I liked about that stuff is then one of the people in the neighbourhood has a dog who like Sarah knows, and as soon as things are going down and Sarah's like about to leave the house to see what's going on, the dog comes like flying out and comes up to her and is just like petrified, you can tell. And I like that because that's a very like nice realistic touch. That is sort of how a dog would behave in those like circumstances. So that's another smart little detail in the episode. So then, as I said, things became kind of high octane and action in the car, just driving around, and all the chaos, and they just sort of get this stuff so perfectly where it feels quite authentic about how your mind would race with and how you do become more desperation where things are going down, because the way it plays out is with the military coming in and being all aggressive, and it turns out that they're shooting people. They're shooting people who have been affected. But as we find out later on, they're also shooting people who they believe could be infected, without knowing for sure if they are. They're actually shooting anyone they suspect without finding out first. So an already tense situation is made even more intense by the way they behave. So all this is very frantic and chaotic, as I said. And it leads to this big thing where they go after Joel and his family and are about to shoot them. And then he goes after the guy, but they shoot at him. And it's Tommy who like saves them, but bullets have already been shot, and Sarah tragically dies. She tragically dies in Joel's arms, and that is such a gut wrenching scene, so emotional, but it's also so beautiful. Like just the shots of him cradling her in his arms. It's like he's there for her right till the very end to her it's like he's almost being a father to her even though she's already died type thing. It's just beautiful stuff, but so heartbreaking. And it sets up like obviously the rest of the series now, the rest of this season, and we then take the jump 20 years. But one of the things which is so important about this stuff and the way Joel loses Sarah is that then it's then going to have an impact on his psychology for the rest of the story. We see after the 20 years, the jump, he is drinking a lot, he's taking these pills. We've seen they can arrange to get pills and stuff from different sources. And you can just see it's a different person from the first minute you see him. Like, he's a lot more like worn down, haggard. It's obviously 20 years later, so he is a decent age probably at this point. Yeah, but it's more just the emotional scars and how he's been affected and how he's still in a lot of pain all these years later, and that he has turned to like drink and drugs to try and cope. Another good example of the direction style is like the scene where it shows him doing just that. It's really intimate. It's very much like close up in his face, and you just get a real sense of that. But the other stuff about what's happened to Sarah and the fallout is then it's going to haunt him throughout the story, but also it's going to become important. And we see one example of it in this episode with him and the stuff with Ellie. And like at the very end of the episode where their lives are in danger, where they get stopped by this soldier when they're trying to escape across the border. And it's like the soldier who they know, who Joel and Tess know, and they've been making deals with him. They've been like supplying different things like drugs and what have you in return for money, because obviously they need to try and make money. And we soon find out that it's very hard to get a job, not surprisingly, in this post-apocalyptic type world. But we see lots of different examples of military rule and the way it's just a military state now. It does feel like a bit like a dictatorship in many ways, which is why it's no surprise then the Fireflies, and I'm sure there's probably more than one group of rebels are like rebelling. So, but yeah, the very end of the episode brings all this stuff about Sarah and the past in focus, because when this guy is about to shoot Ellie, Joel has a flashback to the past and to the night that he lost Sarah. So that becomes important. So what happens is, like, he's got the three of them at gunpoint, and Ellie actually, because she's fearless, this girl, we find that out really in the first episode, and some of that stuff isn't really surprising because we find out that she was sent to like a military school by the Fireflies. So that's a bit of a reveal, because we see her chained up and she's in this room, and this woman Marlene, who's like the head of the Fireflies, who Joel also knows, she comes in and tests her like every morning. And I think maybe the test is to make sure she hasn't got the virus or anything like that. Or it's just to do with something to do with her training. But the reveal later on is, first of all, then Marlene runs the Fireflies. And then second, then they sent Ellie to this place. And they did it to keep her safe. And also because they see her as like a future Firefly. They see her as having a very special future, who could be a big part of like helping them to regain the town from military rule and all that kind of stuff. So that in itself is quite a nice reveal, but I'm jumping around a bit. But the point I was making is then, because of what happened with Sarah in the past, like, Joel becomes determined that he's not going to let that happen again. He's not going to lose a young girl. And that's when he reacts in a very violent, machine-like way, where he just jumps on the guy and starts pounding him, and he just hits him so hard and so many times, and he ends up killing her. And it is a very machine-like thing where the defense mechanism just kicks in, and he's just determined he's not going to lose Ellie. And that's a really fascinating idea, because in some ways it's got nothing to do with Ellie, because he hasn't had time to grow attached to her to form a bond. It's more probably like a principle of she's a young girl, and it would be a bit more tragic if she was shot, but also just he now has this personal mission where he has to protect this girl because he wants to make up for not saving his daughter in the past. And one of the most beautiful things or intriguing things of the story, I think, is going to be watching them slowly bond, and also the dynamic with Tess, because she is a very different character to Joel. She's a lot more like tough and a lot more straight talking, and is a bit more like machine-like type thing. She's very single-minded and just takes care of business almost, but it's very like masculine, and it's interesting that we've already seen two sides of Joel in this first episode, because he was a very different character in the part, as you would expect, but it does seem like he's, even 20 years on, he hasn't moved on, and he's still struggling with this stuff, because the first version of Joel we see is of a very like laid back, sort of almost quite trippy, shrubby, sort of like playful type guy, very deadpan as well. But and then the second version is more like, yeah, more worn down, more just very brooding and, yeah, detached from things almost. So two very different characters, but once again that end scene was very well done, very well directed, and just having those flashes of Sarah like really added to it. So it was fantastic stuff. But I think I've covered most of the main points, but just getting to know the characters was impressive. Like the introduction to Ellie was very good, because I also like the detail of her lying about her name. She calls herself Veronica, and before we get the reveal of who like Marlene is and what exactly is going on with her and with Ellie, is we actually think that she believes this. And at the time we sort of, I mean, people who know different maybe not, but you think that Veronica is her name, and it's then revealed later, no, it's Ellie. So Bella Ramsey, very good. She seems, again, a great bit of casting, and she's obviously going to be like the second billing character, the sort of main character, and there's a lot of potential with her and Joel, like the sort of just how spiky and punchy she is, and how sort of moody she is, but she has a very comical tone, a very rebellious tone, like some of the delivery lines, because when they like negotiate the deal to take her, and it's Tess who actually like changes the deal a bit. She says, tell you what, if you take us up to this point, otherwise we'll kill her. Like, and that's one of the things. Now, whether she means it or not, it's hard to know, but she'd just say that. And so it's almost like, if like we'll kill her if like the deal is we take her up to a certain point, but then we get to see the stuff. Basically, we get to see the engine and the car. Otherwise, there's no deal, and we kill her straight there. And the other woman agrees, and I just love Ellie's response, like, "Oh, really? Just like that?" And just something that made me laugh. So there's a couple of like funny moments with her, and once again, that stuff is important. I think you do need a little bit of a break, but this is very engaging to watch, very cinematic and stylish. Great storytelling, great characters, and yeah, definitely in for the ride. It says something that just after one episode, it's already shaping up to be one of the shows of the year. So I'm very excited to see it play out, and chances are I will be reviewing every episode on the channel. So look forward to more of this stuff next week. So that's The Last of Us, the first episode. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you've seen it, like and subscribe as always. You can share me out on social media, and yeah, just look out for other TV reviews that I do. I started the recent Hulu series Welcome to Chippendales, just for something a bit different. You can find my review of that up on the channel. I also do movie reviews, so I tend to focus quite a lot on horror. I've done a review of Megan, and I've also done a review of Sick, 2 recent horror releases. So if you're interested in horror, check those out. But keep watching TV, and I'll be back with more The Last of Us soon. Thanks for listening, and goodbye.